Hello there, you people. I'm back with another fractions video. The last video that I posted is a fractions video that talks about comparing and equivalent fractions, how to know if fractions are equal or not equal, and then taking that information to decide if fractions are bigger or smaller than each other, less than or greater than. So that was a previous fractions video. In this video, we're gonna be talking about adding and subtracting fractions. Guys, this is so simple. If you can compare fractions, you can add and subtract them. For right now, we're gonna be just talking about fractions with like denominators, which means denominators that are the same. Common denominators. This is the name of the fractions game. Your life will be so much easier if you can determine how to figure out common denominators. The way you do that is give the fraction a new name. Multiply it by 1. Go back and watch my previous video to get more info on that. That's where that's at. Here we're gonna talk about common denominators. 1/8 plus 2/8 equals 3/16. No, not true. That is not true. When you have 1/8 here and 2/8 like this, you're not changing the denominator because this denominator is telling you how many pieces your pie, your strip, your number line is divided into. How many pieces do you have? This doesn't change because if you have 1/8 here and you have 2/8 here and you add them together, how many 8s do you have? Hopefully in your mind you said, well, there's 1 tile here and there's 2 tiles here. I see 3 tiles. You would be correct. 1/8 plus 2/8 equals 3/8. That's how this works. It's so simple. Once you get your brain trained to not think that 8 plus 8 is 16. That's not how fractions work. So let's look at another one just to be clear. We're adding and subtracting fractions. 2/5 plus 1/5 equals, I have a 1/5 here and a 1/5 here. This is 2/5. I've got 1/5 here. 2/5 plus 1/5 equals 3/5. Because I've put those together and now I have 3. Okay? Same for subtraction, guys. Subtraction is not any different. 2/5, 2/5, take away 1/5, leaves me with 1/5. You're just trying to find out how many pieces you're either gaining or you're losing. This is the numerators is where that happens. That's where you're learning about how many of the pieces of the pie do you have, or the strip, or the number line, or what have you. Let's dip into this little thought process for a second. Four 6 plus 2/6. Now we know that this denominator isn't changing because this is just the total amount of pieces we've got. So this is the total amount. That denominator can stay the same because we're not changing the type of pieces we've got. How many of the 6 pieces do we have? All 6 of them. If ever you see a number in a fraction and it's the same number on the top and bottom, how much of the pie do you have? Well, I happen to have a piece of pie here, some pie. Here's 4/6, right? Here's 2/6. If I put these things together, how much of the pie do I have? The whole thing. Here's 1 whole. Are these things the same size? Sure are. 6/6 is the same as 1 whole thing. Now, let me ask you another crazier question. You ready? You ready to get crazy and wacky with your fractions? Woohoo! Let's do it. What if I have this? 4/6 plus 3/6. In 4th grade, this becomes a thing. This can happen. A lot of my students are like, you can't do that. top number can't be bigger than the bottom number. And I understand totally what they're saying. What they're saying is that you can't have more than 6 pieces. Well, what if I do? Let's see, where's my other 6? What if I have 2 pies, 2 pizzas, cut into 6, each of them are cut into 6 pieces, and now I've got 4 6 from this pizza, I've got 3 6 from this pizza. How much of the 6 do I have? 7 6. Totally a thing. Totally okay. Totally allowed. The most important thing to remember when you're adding and subtracting fractions is having common denominators. You must have your pies, your strips, your number lines, what have you. You must have all of those things cut into the same amount of pieces. You must have those sectioned off into the same amount of divided sections in order for adding and subtracting fractions to be a thing in 4th grade. And so you're going to leave the denominator alone because all this is telling you is what size pieces you're working with, and you're going to add how many pieces you have. That is how this works, adding and subtracting fractions, or you're going to take away. I mean, we can do that super quick, right? Not a big deal. 4 minus 3, 1 6, right? Same deal, adding and subtracting fractions. Super simple, super easy. If you have questions, put them down in the comments. I'll be happy to answer those. And if you have other fraction questions, check my previous video out and keep your eyes open for more videos. They're coming.